Over 40 years have passed since Dave Mustaine was suddenly thrown out of Metallica, the very band he helped build from the bottom up. From that tragic time, Mustaine has shown fragments of his side. When it was all over, I didn't really think about it. Then recently I began truly working with therapists and counselors, and really delving into my history to try to improve myself. The whole narrative, however, stayed a mystery until today. In a remarkable twist, Mustaine has at last spoken up. What he disclosed has shocked many completely. What did Mustaine expose? And why is it causing such a commotion? Come along as we explore the narrative behind one of rock's most spectacular departures, and expose the startling discoveries. Dave Mustaine's most recent disclosure clarifies why he departed Metallica, so illuminating the tragic incident that caused one of rock's most spectacular departures. Among his most open interviews, he remembered the surprise of being told he was no longer in a band and being roused. Unannounced, he was given a one-way bus ticket from New York to Los Angeles, a harsh and unanticipated exile that infuriated him. He didn't, however, cease. Mustaine said something no one had anticipated. Looking out the window on the protracted trip back, he promised to take revenge not by violence, but by creating a band quicker, more powerful, and more technical than Metallica. That band, naturally, evolved into Megadeth. But this was hardly the only moment Mustaine discussed the division. In another interview, he admitted that what really upset him was not only being let go but rather how the band had already determined his destiny without his awareness. Mustaine was in the dark, while Hetfield, Ulrich and bassist Cliff Burton had been discreetly planning to replace him with Kirk Hammett. Dave said he wished they had just informed him he had an issue and had to address it. The choice had been made already. By the time he learned about it, he was already on the bus with just wrath and sadness to accompany him. Mustaine then disclosed, as if that weren't enough, that his anger grew when he discovered Metallica had used some of his riffs in their first album, Kill 'Em All, even after he had been brushed off. Originally composed as mechanics, the Four Horsemen nevertheless showed his signature style. Mustaine has acknowledged hearing his music on their album, which made him feel as like someone had taken his child. Though he finally got composition credits, the agony of having his work taken without his involvement stayed a wound that never really healed. Still, the narrative has another unanticipated turn. Mustaine acknowledged that some of him yearned for atonement. There were times he wished to get along with Metallica, but the resentment kept coming back. Once, in a very emotional time, he admitted to crying following his initial dismissal. Not because he lost the band, but because he lost his closest pals. He claimed he was simply a child seeking to fit in. But Mustaine started to relive the past as time went on. In still another interview, he remembered how embarrassing it was to watch Metallica rise to fame while he was still fighting to launch Megadeth. Then arrived the most unanticipated event of all. Mustaine shared the stage with Metallica during the Big Four event in 2010, first time in decades they played together. Though old wounds remain, it was an unanticipated moment that seemed like the end of a war and a quiet agreement. Since then Mustaine has mellowed his position, and even acknowledged that, had he could do it all over again, he could have approached it differently. Long before the Metallica stage though, Mustaine's path had already begun to shape his career in ways no one could have predicted. Success didn't come quickly or easily for him. It required effort, will and knowledge acquired along the road. From an early age, Mustaine was attracted to the guitar, honing his abilities in Los Angeles' early music scene. His innate ability caught attention and finally helped him to join Metallica. His tale, though, began not with Metallica. Before he ever joined the band, Mustaine was already toiling away to establish a name for himself in music. Let's discover how it all began. Dave Mustaine's pre-Metallica career. Born in La Mesa, California on September 13, 1961, Dave Mustaine, his family relocated much following his parents' divorce, making his youth difficult. Without a consistent house, he grew strong and self-sufficient. He adored listening to bands like Led Zeppelin, Judas Priest and UFO. Music was his getaway. Their strong songs and loud guitars motivated him to play music. With age, in the late 1970s, Mustaine established a band named Panic, and took music seriously. They performed in little clubs for his first genuine band. Sadly, when 3 of his bandmates perished in a car accident, events turned tragically. Though it was a great loss for him, He was more resolved to succeed in music rather than quit. Mustaine struggled financially throughout this time. He began peddling strong drugs to stay alive. Many of his clients were musicians, notably Ron McGovern, who eventually became Metallica's first bassist. This link brought him to a chance that might one day alter his life. James Hetfield and Lars Ulrich were searching for a lead guitarist for their new band Metallica, late in 1981. They ran a local newspaper ad in the Recycler. Mustaine found the advertisement and chose to give it a shot. The band was straight away impressed when he came for the audition, not because they heard him play, but because he owned costly guitar gear. They accepted him into the band without ever listening to a single tune. Mustaine significantly influenced Metallica's sound once he became a member. He penned a lot of their early tunes and played lead guitar. The band's distinctive thrash metal sound was shaped by his quick and forceful playing. He worked on some of their most significant early tracks and added solos that set them apart. But during Mustaine's Metallica tenure, something changed. Mustaine co-wrote multiple tracks that made it onto their first album, Kill 'Em All. These featured the Four Horsemen, originally his song titled Mechanics, Jump in the Fire, Phantom Lord and Metal Militia. These tracks revealed his raw and aggressive approach. This started to define Metallica significantly. Metallica began performing live in 1982. Mustaine was involved in several of their initial shows. They performed at renowned venues including the Stone, the Troubadour and Whiskey A Go Go. These concerts drew attention to their music and helped them create a following. Still, the band had issues. Mustaine drank heavily, and his anger led to many brawls. He fought with James Hetfield and Lars Ulrich several times, and as time went on, matters grew worse. The band was starting to have issues with his conduct. Metallica had had enough by April 1983. Getting set to record their first album, they were in New York when they chose to terminate Mustaine. One morning, unannounced, they roused him and said he was out of the band. They provided him a bus ticket, returned to California and sent him off. On the same day, they took him out and put Kirk Hammett in. Mustaine was furious and astonished. He believed the band had wronged him and felt let down. Though Mustaine was out of the band, his legacy persisted. Many of the songs he assisted in writing were still in use. Even after he left, the band's music still included his ideas and riffs. His impact went beyond that. Some of Mustaine's riffs were still employed even on Metallica's second album, Ride the Lightning. Songs like Ride the Lightning and Call of Cthulhu included sections he had first penned. This indicated that his influence on the band beyond his tenure with them. Mustaine significantly shaped Metallica's sound and helped to establish thrash metal. In the metal scene, his quick guitar playing and strong riffs had a big influence. Many bands imitated his approach, and he contributed to the genre's advancement. Though he was let go, Metallica eventually acknowledged his significance for their early songs. James Hetfield stated in interviews that Mustaine had greatly added to their early sound. Though they struggled, they could not overlook how much he had supported the band in its formative years. Mustaine got fixated on proving Metallica incorrect after being expelled from the band. He sought to form a band superior to Metallica. This inspired him to start Megadeth, one of the largest metal bands in the world. His rage and will drove him to put more effort than before. Looking back, Mustaine's tenure with Metallica was fraught with highs and lows. Though his personal issues caused him to tumble, he helped to form their music. His impact persisted even after departure. Mustaine's career after leaving Metallica, then, was what? Continue to watch. To learn. Mustaine's post-Metallica career following Dave Mustaine's sudden dismissal from Metallica. In April 1983, he was driven, rather than letting his firing define him. He set out to create a band faster and heavier than any before. Driven by this, he founded Megadeth the same year. Alongside bassist David Ellefson, he started creating a sound to compete with his previous band, showing that his musical vision was far from finished. Mustaine recorded Megadeth's first demo in 1984, without delay, given his newly found drive. He passed through many artists looking for the correct lineup to realize his idea. The demo drew notice despite the uncertainty, resulting in a Combat Records agreement. Though the band's lineup stayed poor, it was the first step in putting Megadeth on the map. Mustaine and his band released Killing Is My Business and Business Is Good in 1985, driven to make a difference. The record brought Megadeth's forceful technical approach of thrash metal to the public. One noteworthy song, Mechanics, was a revised rendition of The Four Horsemen, a song he had first composed with Metallica. His choice to quicken the pace was intentional and indicated he meant to exceed his previous bandmates. After their first underground success, Megadeth drew Capitol Records' notice. Released in 1986, their second album Peace Sells, But Who's Buying propelled the group reached popular awareness. With its clear bass line, eventually employed for decades as the opening theme for MTV News, the title song Peace Sells became a defining hymn. By this time, Megadeth had established itself as a significant power in metal. Notwithstanding his accomplishments, something touched him. Mustaine was still battling drug and alcohol addiction even while his career was taking off. A problem that plagued him for more than 10 years. Something just happened where I was just wishing for a change in my life, felt quite empty. Feel good for a little while. His substance abuse caused band tensions and erratic behavior. He entered rehab an astounding 15 times over the years before finally getting sober. It was a never-ending fight that almost killed him but finally formed him. Despite his difficulties, Megadeth reached new heights in 1990 with the release of Rust in Peace. Featuring lead guitarist Marty Friedman, its technical accuracy and complex compositions pushed thrash metal beyond its limits. Instant classics were songs like Holy Wars, The Punishment Due and Hangar 18, which confirmed Megadeth's standing among the elite of the genre. Megadeth's mainstream breakthrough came with Countdown to Extinction in 1992. The album reached number 2 on the Billboard 200, marking their highest chart position ever. Songs like Symphony of Destruction and Sweating Bullets exposed the band to a larger audience, showing that Megadeth could find commercial success without compromising their edge. As their influence increased, so did their recognition in the music business. Megadeth received several Grammy nominations during the 1990s and beyond. It wasn't until 2017 that they finally won the award for Dystopia. For Mustaine, who had spent years being ignored despite his contributions to metal, it was a long-awaited success. Megadeth started playing with more melodic aspects in the mid to late 1990s, while keeping their thrash roots. Albums like Euthanasia and Cryptic Writings leaned into radio-friendly rock influences, with songs like Trust becoming mainstream successes. Some fans embraced the change, others yearned for the intensity of their earlier work, while some yearned for the intensity of their earlier work. In 2002, tragedy struck when Mustaine suffered major nerve damage in his left arm, rendering him unable to play guitar. He made the tough choice to disband Megadeth in light of this unanticipated crisis. Determined to recover his skills, he underwent rigorous physical therapy over the following 2 years. He refused to give up even if his musical future looked doubtful. To give up. Mustaine made a triumphant comeback by 2004 with The System Has Failed, meant as a solo project but finally revived under the Megadeth name. The album demonstrated that, despite the challenges he had encountered, he could still produce strong music. A historic moment came years later in 2010 to 2011, when Megadeth joined Metallica, Slayer and Anthrax for the Big Four concerts. Bringing together the founding fathers of thrash metal on one stage, these events were historic. In an unexpected turn, Mustaine even performed Am I Evil with Metallica, signifying a long-awaited moment of reconciliation. Dystopia revived Megadeth's career once more in 2016. The album not only confirmed their position in modern metal but also earned them their first Grammy. Mustaine had waited decades to accomplish it. Mustaine went through a personal change outside of music in the early 2000s when he became a born-again Christian. His faith shaped his lifestyle and creative choices, so distancing him from bands and subjects he believed conflicted with him. His lyrics became more reflective, reflecting his changing beliefs. His public image was at the same time shaped by his vocal political views. Mustaine was never one to shy away from controversy. He frequently made news with his views on government policies and conspiracy theories. His comments generated controversy, drawing both praise and condemnation. He started Mustaine Vineyards outside of music to pursue business, producing his own line of premium wines. He also started Dave Mustaine Coffee, which offered fans with unique blends. His business ventures showed his wish to go outside the sphere of metal. Apart from composing music, Mustaine told his life story in his autobiographies, Mustaine, A Heavy Metal Memoir and Rust in Peace. The inside story gave fans the chance to see his path from his struggles to his victories. His career also included television and film. Over the years, he made guest appearances on several shows, and even provided voices for animated series, including Metalocalypse and Duck Dodgers. But in 2019, another difficulty came when Mustaine was diagnosed with throat cancer. Faced with a life-threatening disease, while still working on music, he went through rigorous treatment. He declared himself cancer-free by 2020. "You have the cancer, I'm 100% clean, and it's going to be 3 years I believe in October. I believe it's the 19th, defying the odds once more." Megadeth stayed a powerful force throughout it all. They put out The Sick, The Dying and The Dead in 2022, showing that Mustaine had no plans to slow down, even after 4 decades. He still tours today, ensuring his legacy as one of metal's greatest icons. What do you think of Dave Mustaine's musical career? Was his firing from Metallica his fault? Leave your comments below. Remember to like and subscribe to our channel. Also, click on the next video on your screen. You won't want to miss it.